Probably one of the most strategic decisions we made when we started Cross Point Church was, and it had nothing to do with where we were going to meet. It had nothing to do with what staff we were going to bring on. It had nothing to do with what marketing strategies we would use when we launched this church. The single most strategic choice we made was to make missions part of the DNA of our church and not just an afterthought. From day one, we said we're going to take 10% of everything that comes in, every offering, the whole deal. We're going to take 10% of that and we're going to dedicate that to missions. And in the first year, we will take at least one mission trip out of this country. And again, when you're starting a church, not only do you need every penny that you can possibly bring in for salaries and buildings and rent, but you need the time. And so those were two strategic choices we said, that from the beginning, we're going to take 10% of the money and we're going to do a mission trip in the first year.
I know it was very important for us from the very beginning to be thinking about global ministry, because we didn't want to say that we valued missions and then get to it 3 or 5 or 10 years down the road when we had more resources or we were more financially stable. For us, it was about building into our very DNA what it looks like to live the life of a Christ follower. And so we did our best to build those relationships, and our hope is that when people think of our church, when they think about how we're involved on a local level, when they think about how we're involved on a global level, they really won't see much of a difference, that they know that we're a church that's committed to furthering God's love in and around the world.
No other decision in our church has impacted us like that decision to do missions. Right after that, we had to make a choice of how we were going to do missions. Would we go through someone? Would we try to do it on our own? And our decision to go with Go Ministries and partner with them was huge for us. To be able to partner with a missions organization that was already in the mission field, they had built the relationships, they'd built the trust, they knew all the logistics of these trips, was huge. So we partnered with them, and we took our first trip the very first year that our church had launched. And wow! The impact that that first trip had on our church, the culture of our church, the missional value of our church was never the same. And those people came back from those first trips so fired up, and the evangelism factor in our church was just heated up through the partnership that we had with Go Ministries.
Well, I definitely think this partnership that we have has affected us in a lot of great positive ways. But the biggest way is that it continues to keep us focused on others. And it's pretty easy sometimes in the church planting world to get wrapped up in what you're doing, and sometimes it's about Sundays, sometimes it's about your particular small groups or whatever programs of ministry that you have running. But this continues to keep us focused on what God is doing in our world beyond our particular church. And I think what it does for the community too is that it continues to communicate that we want to be a church that is beyond just socially minded, that is beyond just helping to eradicate poverty. And those are good things to be involved in, but that we want to be a people who are really sold out to this idea of leaving a legacy, that we're committed to seeing God's love furthered in the world, and that we get to play a part in that. And that's really exciting.
I'll never forget the first time that I met Moises. He is the Haitian pastor that our church partners with. The first time we spent time just talking, he's a brilliant guy. He speaks like 5 different languages fluently. And we just spent time just talking about ministry, and we clicked from the get-go. And we had the opportunity to go to his church, and it was meeting in this little house. And we walk in, and everybody is just packed in this little house. Just wall to wall. And all of a sudden, the elementary school that we were meeting in seemed like a very luxurious setting. And we just clicked from the get-go. And there's something that happened in our church when we were able to partner with this Haitian church and see the struggles that they would go through and see the different things that they battled with. And it was an amazing process of what happened in the hearts of our people. And not only did it give us the opportunity to impact a church that's in a third world country. But the impact it had on our community and how that spread out to the community around us, it's immeasurable. After we had been over to the Dominican Republic a few times and visited with our Haitian partner church and kind of had seen the different setting that they were in, we realized how important it was going to be for us, not only to support that church financially, but to do whatever we could to get them into some kind of building. It was another strategic choice for our church because we still, at that time, were not in a building. We didn't have a permanent place to be in, to do ministry in. But we felt that it was so important that we put this church ahead of our church. We put their needs in front of our needs. And we just made that strategic choice that we were going to start construction on their building before we would start construction on our building. And it's probably one of the biggest highlights of my ministry that day that we broke ground for that church. And here we had a group of hardworking people from our church back in Nashville at Crosspoint Church, all of a sudden standing there on this piece of property that our church had purchased, and we started building that church that day, and something changed in us that day. I can't explain it, but it'll be a day that I'll never forget.
All right, gang, they've already gotten a start on the foundation for us, and what we'll be doing is digging it deeper and finishing it off. The goal by the end of this week is to pour the foundation. All right, let's dig it up.
What we're trying to do is dig this down so we can pour some footings in here. It's the first part of the process for getting our church underway. Today and tomorrow are going to be pretty tough, but I do think it makes it a little more exciting when we know that this was the land that we paid for as a church, and now we get to work on it with people from the church. So
this is about our 30th load here. We're starting to wear down, but we'll pick up our second wind. This here's the process of mixing cement.
Believe it or not, our crew's been out here all day long. We're almost done. We only have a few minutes left of daylight, and that's one of our last wheelbarrows full of concrete. You can tell this is all that we have left to finish out our entire day. This right here, this section, and if we can get that done, we're done for the day. Foundation complete.